Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for interrupting this program, but tonight will not be complete without a story. And this is not just a story, it is a journey of faith. In 1914, amidst the chaos of World War I, another story quietly unfolded in southwestern Nigeria. The British had just amalgamated Nigeria's northern and southern protectorates, creating a diverse colony filled with multiple tribes and languages. In Omoaron, a small town, Dorcas Morenike grew up in a traditional polygamous house where she learned the skills of selling kola nuts and weaving ashoke, a traditional Yoruba fabric. Despite her royal heritage, Morenike faced hardship. Denied a Western education, she endured a testful marriage where she was cast aside for being unable to bear children. Yet, Morenike's resilience was unwavering in 19 Rubin and Seraphim Church. On September 27 of that year, she gave birth to a son during a prayer meeting. He was named Alhassan Olaniyi by his father, but christened David by his mother. Oyedepo grew up under the loving care of his grandmother, Mama Oyedepo, who instilled in him wisdom and values that would shape his life. David's early years were marked by pivotal moments of faith. He contracted tuberculosis as a teenager, and after praying to God for healing, he was miraculously cured. His spiritual journey deepened when he gave his life to Christ on February 19, 1969, under the guidance of missionary Miss Betty Lasher. David quickly emerged as a leader in his school, heading the fellowship of Christian students and enforcing strict morning devotions. His drive and charisma set him apart, but it was his growing faith that propelled him forward. During a holiday in 1970, David worked as a laborer at a construction site in his hometown, Umuaro, where he earned his first paycheck. He used the money to buy a pair of Apollo shoes, the first thing he ever purchased for himself. His grandmother's lessons on hard work and integrity were bearing fruit. That same year, David preached his first sermon and experienced his first miracle when he prayed for his younger brother who had died from measles. Miraculously, his brother came back to life. Despite his spiritual maturity, David struggled to balance his passion for ministry with his academic responsibilities. He was consumed by his desire to preach, which impacted his studies. While his parents were prepared for university, David enrolled in a polytechnic. During this time, he took a temporary teaching job in the remote village of Dumagi, where he discovered there were good churches. David prayed for God to establish his name in the village and began to hold fellowships, meetings, and eventually building a grass cathedral with the help of the village boys. In 1976, David's spiritual journey took two significant turns. First, he delved into the writings of gospel ministers like E.W. Kenyon and Kenneth Hagin. Inspired by the teachings of Thomas Lee Osborne on how to hear from God, David put this knowledge to the test while searching for some friends who had moved. David prayed for the Holy Spirit's guidance. He audibly heard the voice of God for the first time, leading him directly to his friend's new location. This experience solidified his belief in God's active guidance. David eventually met Florence Abiola Akanu, who would later become his wife. He maintained strict purity in their relationship, asking Florence to rebuke him if he ever made advances toward fornication. Both remained virgins until their wedding night. David formalized his commitment to God and his future with Florence by writing a declaration titled Sailing Under Sealed Orders, pledging to follow God's will wherever it led. Florence signed the document signifying her alignment with David's journey. After their marriage in August 1982, David and Florence faced numerous challenges, including financial hardship. As his ministry in Kaduna grew, so did David's resolve to trust God at every turn. He refused to borrow money, even in times of dire financial need, and relied entirely on God's provision. His perseverance paid off. What began with just 4 members in a small apartment slowly blossomed into a thriving ministry. In 1983, David's ministry, Living Faith World Outreach Center, was formally commissioned by Pastor Enoch Adeboye. With this foundation, the ministry began to expand, and David's teachings on faith, prosperity, and healing began to reach more people. Bishop David Oyedepo's journey had only just begun, but his legacy was already being written. A powerful testament to the extraordinary things God can accomplish through a life fully surrendered to Him. He is a man of God, a mentor, a teacher, a father. He is a man of faith, an infallible proof of God's love for our generation. He is a defender of the faith. He is a general. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce to you Bishop David Oyedepo.